This conference will now be recorded.
Yeah, so basically DevOps is like what was the traditional model that existed before was your operations team is separate, which includes your middleware, then your database team if at all it exists, and then you have your Linux administration part or Windows administration. It might be anything. Operations is basically monitoring the environment plus your infrastructure, where exactly your production systems are hosted. So that was operations, and development team was your regular development team who understands the requirements. They develop the code, and then build team will be there who will be uh, preparing the package, what exactly needs to be deployed, and then you have your testing team, so which you are a part of. So these were two different components. Now the scenario has changed, wherein uh, even development team can do the operations team job. But what exactly happens is like these two parts are integrated using certain tools. So here, Ansible is one of the tools. It's like there are some configuration management tools as well, like Chef, Puppet, Salt. Ansible is one of them. So Ansible is widely used in DevOps. So that is why everyone prefers to learn Ansible. So Ansible plays a role of configuration management. So what Ansible does is, if you have 10 different systems, and if you want to make certain changes, any configuration change in all the 10 systems, so it will be a laborious task to go in log into each system, and then you make a change, and you do log into second machine and you do the same change. So using Ansible, what we do is Ansible has a controller node and a target node. So if you prepare a YAML playbook and you run it on the controller node, what it does is it will execute all the changes that are specified in the playbook to on all the target machines. So in this scenario, the laborious task of logging into all the 10 different systems is reduced. So that is where Ansible comes into picture. And then you have Jenkins. So Jenkins is where you do all your different tasks. Like you can do build tasks, you can do even testing also, you can validate your code, and deployment is another thing. So using Jenkins, you can even do the deployment part, and then you can even run shell scripts on any remote machine. So Jenkins is a tool which is for continuous integration. So integration means you are integrating different parts of your development lifecycle. So you can build a code, and then you can test that code, and you can spin up your infrastructure, and whatever code has been tested and validated, you can deploy that code on your infrastructure, and you can finally validate whatever output that you are expecting is what you are getting, or it's like testing the exact code whether the code is working as expected or not.
Okay.
So that is how Jenkins comes into picture. It is like integrating a lot of what do you say tasks in a particular development lifecycle. So here, if you can see, it's like planning is nothing but your what do you say understanding the business requirement, and then code is like you develop codes. It depends, like it can be a Java code, or if you're working in a database environment, a database developer will develop a PL/SQL code or T-SQL code. It depends there. And what build team does is it'll integrate all the code, and it'll prepare a bar file or a jar file. It depends on the environment. And then testing is what you guys do, and then release. So after this particular testing part, you guys generally everyone deploys it on the pre-prod, and then if it works fine, then they go to release section, wherein they try to deploy it in the production and see how exactly it is performing. And then finally, this is operate. Operate is where I was talking about the middleware and the Linux admins and the database administrator. So, or nowadays, everyone is moving to cloud, which is AWS and GCP. So even Azure is one of the cloud provider. So you definitely need administrators to manage those environments. So here, what we will be working on is one is configuration management, the other one is continuous integration. So that is one thing which I told you, wherein you integrate all the tasks of development and operations together, and you run it in just one click. So the task of building the whole job is one part, and you can simply leverage it to any other person who just have to just click that build option, and he can do his task. So there'll be two people here. So the DevOps guy will simply build that complete continuous integration task. So that will be his main role, and he'll roll out that job to the rest of the team members who can use that job. So that is how it works. And then Docker. So Docker is basically you have a VM. You worked on virtual machines anytime?
Yes,
Yeah. So what
we
is
are.
a VM? Yeah. So you have a local host. On top of it, you run your VMs, right? It's virtual machine running on top of a single host. So
Yes.
even Docker is also a similar software wherein you run containers on top of the Docker software, whatever is installed. And definitely, Docker container will consume some CPU memory. So you can spin certain n number of Dockers depending on your complete system configuration. You cannot just spin up 100 containers and you don't have the required hardware with you. So Docker is also similar to your VM or your virtual box, but there it is very easy to administer. Like you can program that particular environment. So to be very simple and precise, it's like you are programming your whole infrastructure and code so that the time taken from your build phase to the deployment phase is reduced. So that is the whole point of DevOps. So there are a
Okay.
lot of teams involved in this whole process, but uh, like previously, people used to follow that waterfall model. Now they are into agile. So like everything happens on a fly, and there are a lot of meetings and stuff. So the same thing is implemented here, wherein they look to complete this complete cycle of DevOps or whatever is your from build your code preparation to the deployment. So it has to be very short, and in an enterprise environment, you don't have just one or two applications. There'll be hundreds of applications, and the releases go on monthly basis or a weekly basis. It depends from enterprise to enterprise. So depending on the number of applications and number of modifications to the particular product, any company, if it's having 10 different products and they expect to roll out upgrade for a product every weekly or monthly. So depending on that, their code development and deployment will vary from enterprise to enterprise. So that is the main motto of DevOps, wherein the complete process of code deployment, code preparation to deployment and testing, everything should be done in a very short span of time and without compromising the quality of the code. Wherein you just do it very fast and you end up having code issues. So that is the main motto of DevOps.
Okay. So as you mentioned, nowadays we are using DevOps in Agile. So
Hmm.
what is the frequency of build release in Agile?
Yeah. What did you say? First part? What was that?
See, now suppose we are working in agile methodologies and we
Hmm.
are using DevOps to release our build.
Hmm.
So, what is the frequency of the build in agile?
Build like see, it depends on how frequently your code is up to date and how frequently you want to modify the code and then test the code. So there'll be a single job which is prepared by a developer, DevOps engineer, and it will be rolled out to the development team. So the frequency depend on how what are all tasks are assigned to you, and you want to test it out. You can do it using Jenkins, or if you want to deploy it on a test machine. So the number of builds that you have, you can do it very fast. So here what you're trying to achieve is like you are bridging the gap, or you are reducing the time for deployment or testing using this continuous integration tool. Yeah.
So my point here is that you are mentioning we can also test into this process used by using Jenkins. So what kind of testing we can perform? Regression testing, functional testing, or something else?
See, I have checked certain tools are there like Maven and MS Build. These are two tools that I'm aware of. So
Mhm.
using Maven and MS Build, if you have any code, we can test it out. So we'll show some examples for this particular Maven and MS Build during the training if you need it.
Okay. So you want to say that we have to code whatever functionality we want to test, we need to code that, we need to
Yes,
program that, and then it will be executed while we are releasing the build.
yeah, it will show that whether that build is valid or not. See,
Good.
this is just rolled out to a developer. A developer will understand, he will know what exactly is the output required. So that part you'll be able to see.
Got it.
Yeah. So that's pretty much about DevOps. And so I've already specified certain tools, right? Those are Ansible, Jenkins, and Docker. So even we'll explain you certain parts of Git, because mostly in for version control, Git is used. So those things we'll explain you.
Okay, fine.
Kumar, would you like to add anything?
Yeah,
So,
Dinesh. Yeah, go ahead, Gulshan.
so whatever course content you have shown on the website, we will be covering all those stuff into our course.
Yeah, yeah. See,
So
I've
basically,
told you.
what we will do is, Gulshan, whatever Dinesh told you about, right? Dev on Ops. That means development and operation team. So, if you are integrating both of them, because basically, it is like an what umbrella. It's a union of development, it's a union of process, and it's a union of tools. So all the things which are there, we are combining it. Okay, whatever Dinesh told, right? The life cycle plan, code, build, test, release, deploy, operate are the same. The only thing is, by involving the DevOps approach, you are actually making that life cycle to run little faster, or you are producing a rapid uh, development, right, from the source code to your end user. So what we will be doing here in the courses, we'll have to start with the basic, since you are from manual testing. All right, so you will have to get familiar with the environment, because you work on infrastructure, right? Like how he told you that you have now cloud like AWS and all. So, but any code that works will work on a platform. So we will teach you about that platform. That will be Linux. Okay, we'll start with basic Linux. Okay, so once you are done with the basic with the Linux stuff, then we will move on with your other, like your containers. He told you about the virtual machines, right? So in that containers, and then with that we'll have configuration management tool, where you can automate the uh, build and you'll deploy it. Okay, and then you comes your Jenkins, where you actually integrate your code and do contiguous integration and things like that. And for your testing part, in Jenkins you will have plugins where you'll have to install and integrate with that whatever tool you have. Okay, so and with that a little bit of, I think, Dinesh, if you can share the course content here, possible for you to share.
Now I
You
don't
have
have
that
it.
now? Okay, all right. So whatever you saw, Gulshan, we will be going through that one by one, because that is again in a sequence that we will be covering it. Okay. So as a manual tester, if you are trying to change this, we have trained people who came from BPO industry also. However, you have to put some more effort. That's it, I would say. Okay. So
Okay.
since the terminology and since the technology a little new to you, you'll have to put some more effort. The only advantage you will have is with the testing part. You are talking about regression testing, unit JMeter and all, everything is there, right? So in Jenkins probably that will help you. But then DevOps as a culture you have to have, because now it's development people as well as operation people. Okay, so you'll have to get familiar with the few technologies. So we will work with you on that. Probably it will take some time more, but then effort from you should also be there. Okay,
Okay.
all right. Any questions, anything you have?
No, I'm done from my side.
Okay.
Do you have anything else to demonstrate apart from this life cycle?
I think as of now, we will not overwhelm you with all this other stuff. Probably this is a good introduction, because if you actually speak to 10 people and ask them, what is DevOps, 10 will give you a different definition. Okay, so
Mhm.
at the end of the day, you have to understand this is nothing. It's not a, it's not a tool, or it's not a job title. It's an approach. You already have a software lifecycle, which this
Uh-huh.
is an approach that you are actually following it to make the developer and operation team's life easier, and for a better quality of product that you can create. For a faster this thing, because previously in software development you used to code, and then one fine day you decide, okay, now we will build after a week or 10 days, and when you build you get a lot of issues. Okay, you test it and you say that no, this code has broken, and then you go on fixing it. So now with the advent of DevOps, the moment you done with your code, and then you push it from your staging to your central repository, and and you, with the help of tools like configuration integration like Jenkins, Bamboo, or whatever it is, you can get the output there only. You can find out what is the bug is my code, so that way it'll make everybody's life easier. So this is just a approach and concept. There are a lot of tools, because it is still in the enhancement phase. Different environment people use different, like how Dinesh told that Ansible is getting used, few people use Puppet, Chef, okay, basing on the environment. So that was it. That now this is what I think is suffice for you. So once we get started, we will go in a particular flow. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
actually, Gulshan, like most of these tools are like Linux based, to be precise. So if we show you now as well, you should have some basic Linux knowledge as well. So you may not be able to understand what exactly are we doing there. So that is why we'll start with the basics of Linux, so that you will be up to speed, and then we can proceed from there.
Okay. Fine.
All right, Gulshan.
All right.
Okay, so you can just pass a word, or I mean, I think the session is getting recorded, so probably you can share with them. Okay.
All right.
Okay.
And we'll share the course content to you as well, so that you'll have it handy. We'll cover whatever would be giving you in the training.
Fine.
Yeah.
Fine. All right.
Okay, Gulshan.
Thanks for your
Thank you.
Yeah. Good.